If you spent 100 hours in Wuthering Waves, surely you would have seen everything there is to see, right? Well, I've spent the last 30 days dedicating 100 hours to Wuthering Waves. From map exploration and story missions to winning the 50-50s, just how much can you get done in 100 hours of Wuthering Waves? Hour 1 began with us waking up in the middle of a valley and getting introduced to two very important characters, Chixia and Yang Yang. They found us here with no recollection as to what had happened and gave us a name, as if the one I made wasn't good enough.
Rover, can we call you that for now? Before you remember your true name?
And they decided to help us on our way to Jinjiao, a nearby town. This beginning route acts as a tutorial, teaching us how to sprint, climb, and survive, where we very quickly run into our first opposition, allowing us to get some crucial combat experience. We come across a statue of a very cool looking dragon, which had triggered a memory inside of Rover's mind, indicating that there may be something more to her loss of memory. Yang Yang tells us that the dragon is a sentinel, being the one for Jinjiao, with other sentinels being present where civilizations prosper. We get interrupted and get introduced to elite class enemies, basically just more difficult enemies, and continue on to Jinjiao. The plot puts one more thing in our way, in the form of this tacit field, where the strongest of enemies are located. We go down to the field, meet up with Baiji, who seems to know us, and run into a mysterious enemy, who had activated the field below our feet. Hey, I can do this all day. I can keep going, I can do this all day. Wait, hold up, I've got an idea. English or Spanish? From that fight, we find out that we can absorb the enemies that we defeat to grow our own strength. Also getting introduced to the gameplay mechanics involving this, but Baiji is curious as to this discovery, so as we go back to Jinjiao, she wants to do a medical examination to see if she can uncover any more information regarding it. I ended up spending some time exploring the nearby area because I'm just one of those people that do everything but what I'm supposed to do in a game. Getting a gauge on the enemy's strength and what to expect when exploring, finding things such as tidal heritages, a reward system for killing a group of enemies, chests, you know what a chest is, but also ended up adding more enemies to the data bank. The data bank is a bank of enemies, and whenever you absorb enemies you haven't before, you add them to the data bank. Think of it as a Pokédex in some sense.
There you are. My dearest. Seed of Fate.
As it stands, Jinjiao acts as the main city in the game, the hub for any and everything you might need. After arriving in Jinjiao, we activate the Nexus Tower, the map of the surrounding area, talk with Chempi, a relic merchant, introducing us to Sonus caskets, a type of collectible in the game, but more importantly, we direct our attention towards the City Hall, where the magistrate of this city, Jinzi, should be located, who had called for us to attend her presence.
I got to see Lady Sanhua. She even looked back at me.
Huh, you wish, buddy. After discussing with Yang Yang and Chixia as to what Jinzi might want from us, we decided to find out. Only to discover that she isn't here, but instead in her place stood Sanhua, her bodyguard. She informs us that Jinzi is currently unavailable, and to fill the time before she arrives back, gives us 4 different puzzles disguised as regular items. We refer back to Yang Yang and Chixia to discuss what these items could possibly mean. For all you thinking that this might be a little bit too much story, I'm with you, don't worry. So, what's even better is we got a motherfucking grappling hook too, yes sir. Okay, back to the story. We go to the academy, speak with Mortefi, and request Baiji's audience to speak over what could possibly be happening with both Rover and the items given to us by Sanhua. We end up completing a sequence of tests for her research, and for helping her out, we unlock Convening. Convene, huh? What the hell is that? Oh, it's the fucking gacha, oh my god. And for free, she provides us with a summon to get Baiji as a character for our roster.
I am Baiji, a researcher at the Huashu Academy.
I decided to check my inbox and saw that because this was towards the first week of the game, I had a few things to redeem. A few summons, a few currencies, but what I want you to focus on is this. This voucher of reciprocal tides can be redeemed for any 5-star character that you want, which end up being the best characters in the game. I decided it'd be best to just wait a little bit and redeem it so I could get a better idea as to who I wanted in the meantime. We wouldn't want to waste this ticket, but I'm curious. Who do you think I redeemed it for? The next few hours of gameplay revolved around discovering what exactly those items that we received were. It was a lot of talk to this person, talk to that person, and during it we unlocked the events tab, uncovering more activities for us to partake in.
It's a no-go for me if you're leaving the city.
At the time of this gameplay, the featured character in the game was Jian, and one event allowed us the ability to test his strength in some combat encounters, alongside some other characters too. I tried them all out and saw just how strong some of these characters were, storing all of this knowledge for a decision to be made later on. Our next story mission leads us beyond the gates of Jinjiao, where we get introduced to this lady. She reveals herself as Jian Xin. She tells us her story about someone she's looking for, and we decide to help her out in discovering all she can find. What the fuck? Hey, this turned into a platforming game. During our quest with Jian Xin, I come across this special enemy designed to be tougher but provide greater echo capability. Despite it being almost 10 levels above our party, we took it down and added it to our Pokédex. We had arrived at a recovery facility next to a battlefield where Jian Xin spoke with the quartermaster and got a better idea as to who we are looking for. Jian Xin thanks us for our aid and decides to continue on alone in finding who she's looking for. We, however, were still left waiting for Jin Shi to arrive in the city. At this point, the map had started to open up much and much more, so curious as to what to do next, I spent some time exploring, leveling up and uncovering more of the lands, where I finally decided to continue on to Kichi village, the location of our next story mission. Clearing out the Tacet field located at the centre of the village revealed a Tacet Discord, who wasn't attacking us but instead crying out for rescue.
Huh?
Guess you won't need my self-introduction.
Scar introduces himself, and despite looking so much like the traditional anime antagonist, he tries to convince us that he's actually a good guy and has our best interests at heart. Whatever Rover might think, I was not convinced, and he goes on, no lie, for about 40 minutes talking about goats. Me. There was some wisdom in his words, but he tries to convince us that we're on the wrong side of this story and that we should join him and his posse. Before we could come to a conclusion, we fight him and get rescued by Yang Yang.
Rover, can you fill me in on what happened?
They are unharmed. Please rest assured. As you anticipated, Scar did not try to kill them. Yes, I stayed out of it like you asked.
Just before we move on, Yang Yang discovered a cavern nearby where we had fought with Scar, and we...
I can't believe it. There is such a...
And we...
I can't believe...
And we...
I can't
Damn,
believe...
okay, we get it. You can't believe it, bruh.
I can't believe it.
At our current point, the next story mission requires us to level up our union level just a tad, so I decided to return to Jinjiao and see what I could do to level up, indulging in almost every side quest I could find, from backflipping on a box to speedrunning the overdash challenges and running into Shixia. This quest with Shixia was one of the first side quests that I was genuinely invested in. All the side quest is really about is climbing a mountain, but as we venture further and further up the mountain, then the wisdom of her thoughts and the realization of her sister's true intentions start to become more and more clear. There's some real thought that's gone into the construction of these side quests, and it does not go unnoticed. You guys remember that ticket from earlier? Well, I think it's about time we redeem our character. We have 5 options: Jianxin, Calchero, Venera, Lingyang, and Encore. Jianxin and Venera take more of a support role, whereas Calchero and Encore take more of a main DPS role. Okay, I'm gonna be real with you guys. We're in this to win. These two are the best characters in the game. Base game. In the base game, these two are the best, so I'd be stupid not to take one of them. And let's be honest now, it's deciding whether I wanted a DPS or a healer. My thought process, there'll always be better DPSs, but good healers, those are once in a blue moon.
This flower is for you. I hope it makes you happy.
Beyond that, this banner was also available for newer players, guaranteeing a 5-star within 50 pulls. From my time playing so far, I had gathered just enough to be able to pull, so pull I did. We're hoping for Calchero, but Encore would be nice too.
Shissa, ally of justice at your service.
The streams have guided me to you.
Oh, time for another afternoon consultation, I see.
The streams have guided me to you. Release the wands, and the mind quiets. Cleanse the thoughts, and the soul clears.
Okay, I'm not mad, but it definitely could have been better. With my newfound characters, I explored even more of the surrounding area, uncovering more locations, chatting to new NPCs, and acquiring upgrade materials for my characters. One random side quest I was doing introduced me to weapon crafting, incredibly helpful for ascending certain weapons to a higher ascension level, strengthening them and heightening their capabilities, but even more important from this quest is that it introduced us to synthesis. Despite being behind a completely random Jinjiao side quest, synthesis is one of the most important things in the entire game, allowing the development of higher tier items that can be used to level up both weapons and characters to their peak performance. We don't use this all too much right now, but when the grind begins later on, synthesis will be a miracle for saving time. Also, I should probably come clean, and I think you know already what I'm about to say from the screen that I'm on, but look, I never said this was a free-to-play playthrough, okay? These 100 hours took place over the course of around about 30 days, so it worked out pretty well to buy this Lunite subscription. This Lunite subscription provides 90 Astrite every single day in addition to 300 Lunite upon purchase. Why am I doing marketing for the game? It's good, it helps us. Cool. At the current state our characters were in, we were almost ready to continue on in the story, but I'd started to become so invested in the completion of the side quest that, I kid you not, I spent almost the next 20 hours of gameplay just completing every piece of side content that I could find. There was this one cool side quest where you disguise yourself as an enemy and invaded their base. That was pretty cool. And also the Pioneer Association, which admittedly took me way too long to realise it was a thing, but this place provides you with rewards for exploration. So on top of the rewards you actually get for exploring, you get even more for reporting it back to McKee. However, what have to be the best side quests in the game involve the companion quest that you uncover for characters that you meet during your time playing, one of which is coming up very soon, but in the meantime, I returned back to Chempy, you remember Chempy right? The Sonus Casket guy? And turned in all of the Sonus Caskets that I had found so far, providing ascension materials for Rover. Also, spontaneous summon time.
Quit the chit-chat. Tell me what you need and I'll make it for you.
As more side quests go by, we start to understand the world in much more depth, hearing experiences of different people, their stories of experiences of people they knew, and it really plays a major part in opening your mind to the world you're exploring and feeling as if you're a part of it. Okay, going from talking about the hidden beauty of the game to the battle pass is going to be tough, but I'll try. The game also has a battle pass too, and as I'm sure is no surprise to you, it's meh, it's fine. If you don't mind the money, it's cool. There are some good weapons within it that I was able to make use of. Another type of quest I was doing around this time involved exploration quests. These are quests designed to unlock more of the map as the quest progresses. So for example, there's this quest located in this area covered by fire flowers, and upon touching the flowers you become ignited. A pretty good concept. The aim of the quest is to maneuver through the sea of flames, help out Mimica, consolidate some of the enemies who have started to debate their intentions, and destroy the crux of the fight. And this is only one example of the multitude of them scattered throughout the story. Another one which I find incredibly cool I'll talk about very soon. Got your ass. Got your ass. Had to wait for your ass. I missed your ass. Oh, a shooting test. Okay. Okay. What the I'm not Shroud.
You must be that famous rover. Hiya, I've heard a lot about you, and now I finally get to meet you in person. You can call me Ling Yang. Glad to make your acquaintance. Fare thee well, blessings swell.
If you're familiar with these types of games, you're no stranger to the companion quests I mentioned earlier and how they have some of the best storytelling in the entire game. Within this quest, Lin Yang had a little problem. He had a multitude of special line dance requests that he had to fulfill, but in the midst of it all, the Lion Dance Festival was also upon us and he couldn't attend them all at once. Lin Yang went around requesting all of those who had a Lion Dance request and asked them whether he can combine them all into one big celebration. Almost all of those who he asked were more than happy to comply, but to make up for the request that Lin Yang couldn't fulfill, he decided to do him a favour instead.
But the Jingle Beast has been messing things up.
And there was one other request that seemed a little off. The quest unravels trying to find both the Jingle Beast and the brother of Bei Shi, but concern is scattered amongst the locals that the Jingle Beast is actually a terrifying monster of some kind. I mean, look at that smile, surely not, right? Beat them off. A current event was the Overdash Club. You've probably heard me talk about that earlier. Now that I had more of the map unlocked, I decided to go through and complete every single one of these overdrive challenges, netting us upgrade materials for each track with a total of 6 different courses to go through. And this was the other exploration quest that I had referred to. Whilst I will admit it was a bit long-winded, the consequence of the quest alters the terrain of the map and unlocks a boss atop the tree in the middle of the area, shifting the perspective that you might have when looking at the area from a distance. All from one quest. During my travels, I came across this strange looking door and someone standing next to it as well. I spoke to him and he said that this gate has stood dormant waiting for us. The door ended up being another event that was going on at the time, and a special one at that. Behind this door was a roguelike game mode that this game had. Integrated into the game behind this door was an experience where you can utilise the characters that you've obtained in a roguelike fashion, traversing through levels and strengthening your skills until ultimately you fight the stage's boss. This was honestly a really cool addition. Like, I enjoyed it thoroughly and it was something I didn't expect from this game either. Now at the 25-hour mark, I was really starting to get a hang of the game, and as backwards as this might sound, the last 25 hours were going to be the longest 25 hours. So now that we're past that, I started to understand much more what I should spend my time on to get the biggest return, and being able to differentiate between the multitude of different activities available. But most importantly, where I should be spending my Astro and who I should be spending it on, which, actually on that note, spontaneous summon.
Time for another afternoon consultation,
I think it's about time we completed the phase Ascension. Every 20 levels that you get, you have to complete a test in order to be able to level up the world you're in. Doing this allows you to level up your characters and your weapons to a higher level. And so, since we got level 20 a little while ago now, I think it's about time that we do that. After completing it, I realised I may have stacked up a little too much XP to make my way all the way to 29 instantly, but hey, at least we're even closer to the next Ascension now as well. Like I said, we can now level up our characters to an even higher level, and so I went to go get the resources to do exactly that. My reasoning as to why I had decided to do the phase Ascension now of all times was that there was another event that I'd wanted to start. This Sonosphere. With a total of 10 different rifts, these challenges allowed you to try out characters that you didn't have yet with an accompanying modifier. The more enemies that you defeat, the more points you obtain. One particular character that I wanted to try out was Yin Lin, the newest addition at the time of playing. She was OP as fuck, I'm gonna be honest. But also, I was able to complete 6 of the rifts, but the others hadn't been unlocked yet, meaning that we'll return to complete these later on. Another one.
Whether you need help with working out or maintaining your health, feel free to come by my gym. We welcome all visitors.
One final thing I wanted to do just before we return to the story was another companion quest, and after Lin Yang's, I was very much anticipating the next, which ended up being...
including what's happening with the Seance Society.
I'll stand by what I said. The companion quests are excellent. The idea and the execution of Yin Lin's went over even better than Lin Yang's. Something about this girl and her father seemed off, and Yin Lin seemed to know more about the situation than she led on. The girl ended up being a puppet to act as the daughter of the man you saw before, and are indistinguishable from the living. The puppets are harmless, but There seems to be a puppet master going beyond his powers and using them for evil. We team up with Yinlin and discover what's more to uncover within regards to this situation. After completing one more exploration quest, which unlocks one of the most important bosses in the game, and returning to the alloy smelt to finish the remaining rifts I didn't complete earlier, I think it was about finally time that we returned to the story. For some reason there's like more than the usual amount of help this old man out quests in this game. I feel like I've helped out everyone's granddad in Jinzhou. But hey, they pay well. In Jinzhou, we talk with Yang Yang and Chixia to see what was left for us to uncover. We spent time figuring out the final item that we hadn't figured out yet, the sundial, until we realised that there was a pattern that we had to follow, and subsequently figuring it out.
Wow, you really solved it!
The map provided was one of the Grand Library located within the City Hall, marking a location that we might want to uncover, and finding the hidden lever to open the gate, we enter into the sanctuary. This puzzle involved finding hidden sonics of sound and aligning them in their correct place in the middle of the room.
Another platform.
After making our way up to what we were trying to find, we receive a guest.
Thank you for leading the way, Rover. What a magnificent place to set foot in. Extensive, exhaustive. Oh, how I want to carve the place inside out and blow it all to shreds. So you've laid a trap for me. So you knew I was following you all along, huh? My Elysium only breaks under coordinated attacks from both sides. I can never get rid of all these pesky little helpers around you, can I? So you've joined hands against me with Miss Magistrate here. It does hurt my feelings, you know?
Jinxie arrests Scar under the state of Jinzhou, and after, we make our introductions. After interrogating Scar, Jinxie informs us that we should want to meet up with General Jian to stop the threat at hand. The only problem was that he's currently in the midst of a war. After completing the quest, we unlocked two very important things, both the next region where the story continues into, but also the Tower of Adversity. I decided to mess around with the tower for a while to learn that it was a set of trials laid out in a progression-like system to earn rewards for, and it scales a lot. The beginning trials don't pose too much of a challenge, but as you progress, you start to fight enemies far beyond your own level. We spoke over what happened with Jinxie and Scar to Yang Yang and Chixia, and get told of a tale regarding the Sentinel's history. Magistrate Jinxie had mentioned to us a flower of some kind, which we didn't know anything about, so we went to the resident flower expert of Jinzhou to figure out whether it had any importance. We find out that the flower is a symbol of the members of the Black Shore, but still nothing about where to locate one. Despite it, Verena was still able to construct a replica for us to use in the meantime, but after departing from Verena, Rover realizes that someone has been following us this entire time.
Looking for me?
Oh, here you are.
Just before we were planning to depart from Jinzhou, we get introduced to Alto and Encore, who are both members from that Black Shore, and give us the black flower that we've been looking for.
Oh, please help us. Pretty please.
For helping us out, we accompany them on defeating the mech abomination and enter into a very important mission. We're transported into Jian's body in the midst of the war and find out exactly what he has planned. As we return to Rover, the world is now covered in a dark cloud. Our goal is to meet up with Jian and destroy the source of this darkness. Throughout the course of this mission, we phase back and forth between Rover and Jian, both maneuvering through the battlefield until they come together and make haste. All until we find ourselves at the heart of the darkness.
This will be our final battle with this Renodian. Rover, are you ready? As the conceptualization of war, somehow it opted to flee instead of fighting us properly.
For completing the fight, Rover unlocks a new element, becoming the only character in the game capable of using 2 elements, Spectro and Havoc. Now, at the time of playing, that was actually the final story mission, but that doesn't mean that that's all the story we're going to see in this video. Remember Jinxie from earlier? I think there's more to uncover about her story. Following the completion of that fight, we unlocked Jian's companion quest, which honestly ended up being a good contrast to the action-packed quest that we just had with him, and it allowed us to get a better idea as to what kind of character he really was. Despite being one of the only characters I actually didn't end up obtaining by the end of these 100 hours, just from his dialogue alone, he ended up being one of my absolute favourites to experience.
This is why I believe you should be the one to plant this seed here.
And another one. Oh, okay, I'm joking. Look, that was scripted.
I'll handle your commission. Alone.
Okay, there ended up being another new player banner that after using 80 summons on, you get the character of your choice, and I, as probably indicated what I said earlier, thought that Calchero would have been the best pick, who ends up being an Electro sword wielder. Meaning that now, our team composition was looking pretty good. Main DPS Calchero, sub DPS Havoc Rover, and our support being Verena. With my new team, I went out and leveled them all up, getting the required resources to do so, but also, this was the time I started to care about what echoes I equipped them with. Those echoes that you absorb can be equipped to characters to enhance their performance in certain stats. You can get ones that boost crit damage, crit rates, element damage, etc. And this grind for echoes ends up being one of the ones that take an absurd amount of time. In the middle of the grind, I came across this perspective challenge and decided to try it out. But tell me why I couldn't for the life of me figure out this last puzzle. Please, tell me it wasn't just me. Now at the hour 50 mark, we've covered a lot, but I wouldn't be making this video if there still wasn't a whole nother world of content that we still haven't touched yet. Where we're at right now is that I am and have been grinding for the upgrade materials over the past few hours, using a lot of the crystal solvent that I haven't touched yet, restoring wave plate, which is the currency used to get said upgrade materials. I was starting to get pretty strong, but despite the team having some good chemistry, I've been using Rover since the start of the game, so I thought it was about time that we use some of the asteroid that we've been stockpiling and take a chance at the 50/50s. If you don't know all too much about gachas, then what you need to know is that this screen right here is where the deepest hatred of the game starts, and where the best memories of the game are made. We're basically gambling, but thanks to how much we've been playing, we have a lot of what we already need to pretty much guarantee us a new character already.
What's that look on your face? Surprised to see me?
Not only that, but after pulling for Yin Lin, I decided to push my luck and try to pull for her weapon as well. With a new character and a new weapon, I'm sure you know the first thing we had to do was go get the resources to level them up, but I'd been doing that for a while, so I decided to switch things up. Exploration is always something I love to do in these games, and I thought I hadn't done enough of that yet, so beginning in the Northfall Barrens towards the top of the map, I started to progress my way down from the top, collecting every single collectible in the game, involving all of the Sonus caskets, all of the chests, all of the bobflies, all of the viewpoints, everything.
The loot we find is not part of my pay. It's all yours.
Honestly, I don't know how to make this into good content, but over the course of the next 10 hours, I was able to collect everything for half of the map. It took me 10 hours to do only half of the map. God damn it. Nevertheless, after doing over half of the map, I logged on one day to find a new update upon us. Not just any update either, it was the update bringing Jinxie to the game. Jinxie to the game so we can get him. After all of that exploring I did have a lot of asteroids stocked back up, even after just pulling for Yin Lin, but did I really want to take my chances trying to summon for Jinxie as well? I mean, if I did, I would have pretty much the best team in the entire game, comprised of Jinxie, Yin Lin and Verena. But in the case that I didn't, I would have spent a lot of valuable asteroid that I could have spent on resources for progression instead. I mean, we're playing a gacha for a reason, right?
Member, Encore reporting.
And once again, you know what a new character means. We grinded out the resources necessary to get Jinxie to her peak performance, which took a lot longer than expected. Maybe because I took a depth detour, but for some reason, I wasn't satisfied just yet. There was one final thing that I still needed. With our team looking better than ever, I decided to continue on into the extension of the story that had come out with Jinxie.
I thought Yang Yang said you had a super cool little buddy to show us. Where is it?
I don't know.
Over at the City Hall, we talk with Sanua, who tells us that Jinxie is over by a nearby continent called Mount Firmament. She tells us that Jinxie may be in some kind of trouble, so with haste we try to figure out a way over to Mount Firmament, until she tells us that by the dock nearby Axel Mine, there could be a ferry for us to utilise. Down by that dock, we met with Chang Li, our travel aide, for our journey to Mount Firmament. After arriving, we soon realise that the island is in a state stuck in time, and if we don't resolve whatever the issue is holding these people stuck, then soon too will we fall prey to it as well. Chang Li leads us to the survivors of the island's trap, housed below the town at the centre of the island. We speak with the elder, and she tells us that Jinxie had come to this island to help the locals evacuate, but they realised that they didn't have enough time, and due to that, Jinxie decided to face the threat alone, and confront the Sentinel with haste. What we learned is that we need to locate Jinxie as soon as possible before we fall prey to the Sentinel's power. After a lot of puzzle solving, we finally find Jinxie. She affirms what we were worried about as well, and tells us that the island is facing a temporal disruption, and to resist it, she needs to face Jue, the Sentinel, and fight it. We convince her to bring us along so we can do all we can to help. Chang Li departs in appropriate fashion, and Jinxie and I return to Hong Zhen, the town we were at before, to discuss the next move with the elders.
I'm a seed, born on Mount Firmament, carried by the wind to every corner of Jinzhou. But now, I've returned to my place of origin. It's time for me to take root and grow into something greater.
After traversing through the body of the giant stone sculpture of Jue, we meet with the Sentinel. Whilst momentarily passive, they're both aware of the battle that has to happen.
If there is anyone who can face you in a fight, that person has to be your resonator.
The next couple hours after completing the Sentinel's missions were spent completing the exploration quests and the side quests located on Mount Firmament, with one side quest in particular involving having to take pictures of the landscape for an old friend of ours. This was definitely a good side quest to have because it allowed you to see the contrast of the island structure to what we've been seeing in Jinzhou. Now, just past the 75-hour mark, we have done a lot. We've explored over half of the map entirely, completed the entire main storyline, and now just completed the continuation in the form of Mount Firmament Part 2. Better yet, we also have the best team in the game, hands down. So the last 25 hours are looking bright. Bright was correct, and to be honest, about 15 of the last 25 hours involved getting every single other collectible that I hadn't obtained yet, also having to gather Mount Firmaments too, with hours 90 to 100 spent, honestly, just enjoying what we've been able to accomplish over these 100 hours. I did some trophy hunting. I also got invited to someone's world and said, hey, fuck it, why not? Also, shout out to you if you're watching. And finally spent the last of my hours in the roguelike game mode, which for me was the absolute best part of this game. It was incredible.
Sacred life.
And one final thing to end it on was that around about the 90-hour mark was when we had finally achieved Union level 45, and the reason why that is so important is that the main event in the game currently, and the first event you're introduced to, set an end goal of Union level 45, and for achieving it, it gives you a weapon box containing a 5-star weapon of your choice. But for some reason, it didn't feel right for me to open it because of the fact that my run was almost done, and I also had pretty much everything I'd wanted so far. So I leave that box to one of you. I intend to give this account away to any one of you watching this far for little old me. So what I want you to do is to just leave a comment with some form of contact that I can get to you with, and then I will choose someone and give this account away. At least I think that's how it works. I'm still figuring out at the time of recording this, but